hour, which if you do the math on that, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's extremely expensive. Then the other option was move her into a giant facility. I don't want to live in a facility. I want to live in a home, first off, but with 300, 400 strangers who she doesn't even know. We said, that's not the option. So we looked for residential assisted living homes. And in that area, there were a couple of them, but they were full and they were just kind of not really the quality that we were looking for. But they were about $5,000 a month to live in those facilities. And we said, wow, there's a big opportunity out here. And so we decided to start our first residential assisted living home. And so before we move forward, I want to make a statement. You know, if you're committed, you can do whatever you want. If you're not committed, you can find a reason to not do whatever you're doing. So the first thing is you got to get committed. You got to be clear on your why. Or if you're there live, write that down. And if you're not even willing to write it down, why you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that next level of your life, then it ain't going to happen. Here's the spoiler. It ain't going to happen. You know, even for me the other day, I said, you know what? I need to lose 20 pounds. And so right on the other side of this wall, I got my goals, my fitness goals. I have written them down. And what do you know? They're coming to fruition. So we got to write things down. Your commitment is critical to your success. Now, when we committed to success and we said, we're going to do whatever it takes. We started that first home, that second home, that third home. And, you know, unfortunately, my grandmother, she passed away before she was able to move into our homes, but her legacy lives on in what we do. And what's really cool about this is that ripple effect. You know, we started that home for our grandmother, but now hundreds of other people around the country have started homes and are helping hundreds of other families. And it's really cool what you can do when you commit yourself to a goal. So if you're committed, we can help you, but you got to get clear on your why. And, you know, a lot of people, they always say, well, it's about the money. You know, I just need to make the money and this and that. I want to make a bunch of money. It's kind of like Bruno Mars. I want to be a billionaire so bad. Well, why? Why do you want to be a millionaire? You know, money is important, but what's the purpose of that money? You know, one of the questions I like asking people is I say, you know, if I could give you $1 billion and you couldn't spend it or give it to anybody, would you even want $1 billion? Well, of course you wouldn't. You'd be in danger if you had $1 billion at that point. It'd actually be a negative thing. So what is the money for? You got to know what the purpose is for it. You got to get clear on it. And if you're not understanding what I'm saying, you got to wake up. Wake up. You got to get clear on your purpose. And if you are, you can do anything you want in your life. So we're going to show you how to do this step by step, one step at a time with the one and done formula. Let me ask you this. Is your plan simple? You know, there's the saying that 90% of the world's millionaires are millionaires through real estate. So if that's the case, why is everyone who's investing in real estate or thinking about getting into it not millionaires already? Well, when we talk about it, is your plan simple? What we're talking about is doing one residential assisted living home. But a lot of people, their strategy is, I just need to do, you know, a couple little houses. And then they find out, well, they're not quite making me as much money as I thought, so I need a couple more. And one of the tenants didn't pay, so I need more to cover that tenant. And then, something broke and somebody had a party and someone this and that. And by the way, I'm putting up 50 homes right here. You know, if the goal is $10,000 a month and you're making $100 per rental property, well, it's going to take a lot of those houses. Why do all those when you could just do one residential assisted living? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, the one and done formula. So, disclaimer before we get started, trigger warning right now. First time I ever said this, I had the whole room gasping. We only work with rich people. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean this, all right? Don't get offended. I don't mean this. I mean this. Robert Kiyosaki, in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talks about the difference between the rich and the poor. The difference between the rich and the poor has nothing to do with how much money you have in your pocket. A rich person can be broke, all right? Now, it's not about money, it's about a mindset. See, when a rich person is confronted with an issue, they say, well, how can I get through this? How can I make this work? When a poor person is confronted with an issue, they say, well, this is why I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do that. Again, a rich person can be broke. That doesn't mean they're poor. Poor and rich is a mindset. So let me ask you a question. If this guy right here, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if he lost all of his money, do we think that he would get it back? Yeah, I think he would. But what about like that guy, Elon Musk? Elon Musk, the CEO and owner of Tesla. What if he lost all of his money? Do we think that he would get it back? I mean, what if he went on, let's say he did something crazy. Let's say he went on the Joe Rogan show and he was smoking a doobie and, he did that. That'd be crazy. The stock plummets. Do we think he'd make all of his money back? You bet he would. But what about people like this? People who win the lottery. Do they ever get to keep that money? Does that ever stay with them? No. What happens? They spend it all, they lose it all, and then do they ever get it back? No, they don't. The difference is one is a rich person, one is a poor person. Rich person says, how can I make this work? Now, with assisted living, there's challenges, just like everything in life. And you got to be willing to go through those if you're going to be successful. If you're willing to do that, you can do whatever you put your mind to. But if you're not, it doesn't matter what obstacles in front of you, it will stop you. We only work with rich people. So for an example, well, I might have to do some extra work to that house. Well, you're thinking about why can't you do this? Why can't you be successful? Why not think about it from a different point of view? Here's an example. I was in Connecticut a number of months ago, and I was sharing on assisted living, and one of the participants came up after I was done speaking, and they said, I really wanted to do this, but I found out I can't do this. I said, well, why not? They said, well, it was going to be more work than I wanted to do to initially get it up and running. So I can't do it. Poor person. Then he asked me to vote for him. He said he was running for local office. And I said, great. Threw that card in the trash and flew on home to Arizona. You can do whatever you set your mind to, but you got to be on your why. So the one and done formula. We're going to show you how to make more money from one single family home than an 80 unit apartment complex. You don't need to work 40 hours plus per week, and you can do it in 6 months or less. Let's dive into things. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And I like to call it shiny pennies: real estate, oil and gas, stock market, precious metals, offshore investing, cryptocurrency, cannabis, and senior housing. There's a lot of different things that you can invest in, but there's a reason why we love investing in senior housing. So let's jump into the real estate side of things and some options for a single family home. Fixing and flipping, I love it. You can make some money, but the problem is once you fix it and you flip it, now you're looking for your next job. And by the way, every time once you fix it and flip it, there's more competition in the market looking for those same exact deals. So there's a lot of competition, but you're continually hunting. You're never farming. So what about this? Farming, rental homes. They can make some good cash flow, but $100, $200, $300 a month, that was a lot when I was in high school. But as an adult, I need a lot of those to get by. So how do we make more money, significant income? What about leasing it out to a group home? Now, this could be higher cash flow, and this is going to be an option I talk about later tonight. That might be $1,000, $2,000 per month. And what about Airbnbs? Airbnbs, it was funny. My wife and I, we practically keep that company open. We love traveling. We love going to different places. But Airbnbs are very good during the good times. But what about during the bad times? See, some industries do very well when the economy's up. Some industries do very well when the economy's down. Assisted living, owning and operating a residential assisted living home, $10,000 plus per month. That's what we're going to be talking about. One of the main reasons why I love residential assisted livings is how it does when the market's up, when the market's down. When you think about it, if somebody is going through a tough time financially, what's the first thing to go? Is it their vacation to Cape Cod with their Airbnb? Or is it mom or dad's care in a residential assisted living home? I think that answer is pretty clear. I like owning residential assisted living homes for that reason. Now let's talk about the opportunity. The baby boomers, people born between 1946 and 1964. It's a silver tsunami. There's a lot of them. Now, this photo right here, why I love it, is because it reminds me of the Great Recession. During the Great Recession, some of us were the bear, some of us were the fish. And we're about to go through another storm in our country's economy. And if you think it already came and went, I'm sorry, it has not. It's about to happen. It hasn't happened yet. It's about to. Now you have the choice. Do you want to be prepared for the opportunity? Do you want to be the bear or do you want to be the fish? See, I love the quote by Les Brown. He says it's better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. You have the choice on what you want to do. But we talk about that opportunity, the baby boomers, that silver tsunami. And these young lads right here, the Rolling Stones, we got, what's his name again? Ronnie Woods, and we got Mick Jagger, we got Charlie Watson. Who was the oldest? I usually say that. Who's the oldest out of this group? And if any of you guess Keith Richards, you're actually correct. He's 307 years old. So for those of you counting along at home, you are correct. Harry S. Dent, the author of The Demographic Cliff, the national bestseller, wrote in that book, the opportunity of our lifetimes in real estate development and investing is likely to be nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Now, he was actually one of our guest speakers at the Residential Assisted Living National Convention last year. And when we talk about that, the opportunity of our lifetimes, it's an incredible opportunity. And I like big opportunities. I don't know about you. I don't like even having to be super precise. I like big opportunities like this. So when we talk about that opportunity, this is from the Emerging Trends in Real Estate 2019 survey. Blue is buy, yellow is hold, orange is sell. We see up at the top, 54.2% are saying buy senior housing. On the bottom, we have high income apartments. In that same survey, they put investment prospects. On the top right, you see that's excellent. If you look at the bottom right, excellent. On the bottom left, abysmal. And abysmal is bad. That's like bad, worse, terrible, abysmal. That's when you get there. And on the bottom left, you see vacation homes. So where do we want to be for the future? Now, I'm going to make a guarantee. I'm going to guarantee that you all get involved in residential assisted living or assisted living in one way or another. You can either own the home, you can put someone in the home, or you can go in the home. We all get involved in assisted living one way or another. The question is, how do you want to be involved? So what does my crystal ball say about all this? Well, right now there's 77 million baby boomers in the US currently, and there's 10,000 people a day turning 65 years old. Now, the person who's 65 isn't moving into an assisted living, but the person who's 85, they're at that age where they're either moving in, have moved in, or are thinking about moving in. Now, in the US, there's roughly about 1.4 million beds for assisted living across the country. But if you take that 4,000 number, times it by 30, times it by 12, the number you get is roughly about 1.4 million. That's every single year. And that's not even that silver tsunami of 10,000 people a day turning 65 years old, moving into the homes in the future. Where's the opportunity today, but where's the opportunity tomorrow? Now, 90% of these seniors would rather stay in their own home. We often get asked that question. Why would someone want to move into one of these homes? Why doesn't everyone stay in their own home? Well, it's extremely expensive. And a lot of people, especially now, turn on the news. People do not want to move into large facilities. But it's too expensive to live at their own home. It's not as safe or it's not as fun or not as good of quality to live in larger facilities. People want a safer alternative and a more home-like alternative. 70% of those seniors, by the way, will need daily care for an average of 3.5 years. These stats are provided by AARP for reference. They need a home, they need assistance. Now, as an introduction to myself, my name is Emmanuel Guarino. It's my beautiful wife there on the right. I'm a graduate of Arizona State University. Funny little story about that photo on the left. My wife and I were graduating. Someone came up and took a photo of us. And little did we know that photo would become the front page of Arizona State's website for the next 4 months. Now, we didn't get paid any money for that, but I should talk to them about that. Now, Beck and I are very, very blessed. We get to work with our family. We get to travel around the country speaking on residential assisted livings. We own residential assisted livings and we sell residential assisted livings. We're very blessed to get to do what we do. Now, I was also very blessed to have the honor of doing a TED Talk This last, what was that in March? That was January in the Netherlands. And if you want to look that one up, you want some laughs, you want a little inspiration, it's called The Idiot's Recipe for Success. The Idiot's Recipe for Success. But I was very blessed to get to go do that. But one of the things that Beck and I love about residential assisted living is that there's less competition. You know, in Arizona, there's 40,000 realtors. And it's actually a requirement to get your real estate license when you get your driver's license in Arizona. Well, at least it feels that way. Less competition. We love it. See, I love Chip and Joanna Gaines, and I love watching their TV show, Fixer Upper. But every time these two air an episode, there's a couple more people that join the bandwagon. It's a very crowded space. A lot of competition in that area. For me, again, I don't like only working smarter, but I like working where there's less competition. So if you're looking to work smarter, not harder, and you're looking for less competition, residential assisted living might be the place for you. Now, a little bit about the founder, my father, Gene Guarino, the reason why I'm here with you today, right now. He bought his first residential property at the age of 18, first commercial property at the age of 25. He's owned over 22 businesses over the past 41 years, and he's trained over 300,000 people worldwide. He's written 4 books, hosted 3 radio shows, most recently Second Wind Success, which is all about helping baby boomers find their second wind in life and in business. And then more recently, wrote a best-selling book, Investing in Senior Housing, and I'll show you how to get a copy of that later today as well. So not only has he written 4 books, hosted 3 radio shows, he's also been married for 33 years with 4 wonderful children and 1 extremely exceptional child. I kid. He also has 2 amazing grandchildren. Now this book right here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read this book, I'm going to highly recommend you pick this book up tonight and start reading it. This book is incredible. And for me, I always get asked the question, how did I get involved in residential assisted living? Well, my father, he actually handed me this book and I read it and I said, wow, this is incredible. I said, this is awesome. And about 2 weeks after I read this book, my father and I ran into Robert Kiyosaki at an event, and he walked up to my father and he said, hey, you're the assisted living guy. I got some questions for you. Now, at that moment, my head exploded off of my head. And I said, oh my goodness, if Robert Kiyosaki is asking my father for information and help, then I think my dad is onto something. So if you haven't read that book, do it. It's an incredible, incredible book. But in that book, Robert talks about getting out of the rat race. If your expenses are higher than your passive income, you need to go to work every single day and you are in the rat race. And so the idea is, how do I get out of the rat race as fast as possible? Now, Robert's been an amazing friend to my father, and this has been when they were actually speaking at the New Orleans Investors Conference last year, I believe that was. And my father said, hey, Robert, you know, I know you were asking about that project. How are things going? And he's going, they're going great. I just got approved for a $144 million loan to convert a property that I own into an assisted living facility. Now, pause, everybody. We're not doing a $144 million project. But if Robert Kiyosaki is investing $144 million into projects, let that be a good sign to all of us that, hey, I think we might be onto something right here. Now, what's cool about this is Robert is having to fill hundreds of beds. We're having to fill 10 beds, 15 beds, 20 beds. So the competition is really not him, because what we need is very, very small compared to what he needs. But Robert, he sees where that opportunity is going. Right now in assisted living, the silent generation is in the homes. But he sees that baby boomer spike that's coming. And he sees that even bigger spike in the middle. It's about 11,500 people a day turning 65 years old at the spike. There is a massive, massive need. The baby boomers, they're coming. Now, my father, he was asked to speak at Harvard on assisted living. And when he was there, he ran into a gentleman that some of you might recognize. This guy right here. Now, maybe you don't recognize him in that photo, but maybe you do in this photo. The world's most interesting man. Stay thirsty, my friends. Now, when my father met Jonathan Goldsmith, he said, what are you doing here? He said, well, I'm, hosting the event, and I'm also listening for different business ideas. I just got let go from my job as the Dos Equis man. He said, what? What are you talking about? What happened? He said, well, I was the world's most interesting man for 7 years, getting paid $3 million a year. And one day I walked into work, they handed me the script and they said, you're going to Mars and you're not coming back. And that was it. And, when that comes down to it, hey, about that, you're fired. Some of us in the room, you're working for a boss right now and they've been a jerk. And what you have to ask yourself is, when is enough enough? And I love this quote right here. Imagine, if you will, spending your entire life working to make someone else's dream come true instead of your own. You have the choice. Some of you are thinking, I don't have the choice. I can't do it. Yes, you can. Stop this thinking. You can do whatever you put your mind to. And if you are unhappy in your job, get out of there. Be happy. You got one life. Enjoy it. Have some fun. It's time to disrupt you. Do whatever you want. Now, Jonathan Goldsmith has since become a good friend of the family, and he was actually one of our guest speakers at the second Residential Assisted Living National Convention. And he's just an awesome guy, and it was awesome getting to hang out with him, getting to know him, and I had to make sure I got a photo with him right there because he was just a really, really cool guy. But as he was at Harvard, he said to my father, he said, this is the most interesting thing that I've heard while I've been here. He said, but I got a couple of questions. Can you answer these for me? And these are probably some questions that you're having as well. So let's dive into these. The first one is, can I do this if I'm not in the medical field? The answer to that question is, you do not need to be in the medical field. If you are, it's a great feather in your cap, but you don't need to be in the medical field. Second question is, can I use a home I own now for this? And the answer to that question is maybe. But really, just because you can doesn't always mean you should. And that's an important thing to remember when it comes to residential assisted living. And the third one is this: how much can I make doing this? Well, don't worry. We will get to those numbers. You'll see those in just a little bit. So what is residential assisted living? Well, it's a group home for seniors that provides assistance with their activities of daily living. So what is an activity of daily living? Well, I want you to think about all the things that you've done today: cooking, cleaning, getting up and out of bed, showering, hopefully, brushing your teeth, hopefully. All of those things are activities of daily living. And the residents in our home need help with those activities of daily living. It's not a nursing home. It's not medical. It's activities of daily living. See, some people, when they get older, sometimes they don't need medical attention all the time. That's a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility. Sometimes people are just needing help with average routines throughout their daily lives. So what does it look like? Well, it's not this. This is your typical nursing home. I would say if you put up a barbed wire fence around this building, kind of looks like a prison. So it's not that. And it's not this, the long hallways and dark and gloomy and not fun. Now, by the way, I know I can't hear all of you, but I'm just asking, who of you are saying, I really, really want to put my mom or dad into a place like this, or I want to go move into a place like this? See, this is what we're fighting against. This is what we don't want. This is the status quo right now. We're fighting against that. There's been a lot of stuff in the news about large assisted living facilities and COVID cases and this and that. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about these large assisted living facilities getting their COVID cases. They've been doing a lot of stuff wrong for a very long time. See, when someone is in their 80s, their 90s, they don't want to move into a building like this. They want to stay at home, but people can't afford that. So moving into a smaller residential home is a much, much better option because it's, for most people, not the right fit moving into a facility with 300 strangers. Also, when it comes to contraction, there's a lot more chance in a larger facility. So not only is it safer, and not only has COVID shown people that, hey, this is not the way, it is not the right solution for what many seniors need at this time. And we'll talk about that more as we move forward. It's not this as well, the Golden Girls, 4 independent women living with each other. It's not that. And it's also not this, hey Manny, I got a rental property. Can I, do this in that home and make 10,000 a month? No, this is not what we're looking for, right? Not a dilapidated rental property that's scary and looks like where they filmed Saw. No, we're not doing that. We're doing this. This is an example of one of our residential assisted living homes in Phoenix, Arizona. And this was the first residential assisted living property that we bought. Now, this is another one of the homes, and this is another one of the homes. Now, as I go through those photos, you notice a couple things. First thing is they're single level. Second thing is these look like homes. These don't look like facilities with hundreds and hundreds of people. It's because it's not. There might be 10 people in a home like this. And the third thing is they look nicer. They're in nicer neighborhoods. They're not in a scary area of town. So nicer, ideally single level, and also it's a home instead of a facility. So what does it look like inside? Well, as you can see, it looks like a home. But instead of 2 parents, 2 kids, and a dog, it might be 10 elderly residents and a couple of caregivers taking care of them in that home. Now, what about the rooms? Some of you are probably thinking, hey, I got a 2-bedroom, 1-bath rental property. Can I put 10 seniors in there? Well, first things first, we're not doing a rental property. Again, this is a nicer home in a nicer area. But in these homes, we want to have more private rooms. Well, you said you got 10 people, more private rooms. Why would you want to do that? Well, generally speaking, in assisted living, as again, it's not a dorm room. They want their own room. I assume many of you, if you're not married or if you are married, you and your spouse share a room or you have your own room. You probably don't have a roommate at this point. So same idea with these residents. They want their own room. A shared room in assisted living is kind of your lower level room, and you can charge a lot less for a shared room rather than a private room. So when you think of the shared room, I want you to think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I'm just joking here, don't worry. But as we think about